Welcome to another deep dive, you guys. Today we're going to be looking at some communication skills.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And our main source material is this book called How to Talk to Anyone by Leil Lowndes.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been flipping through it. And, there's a lot about first impressions,
Right.
which we all know are important.
Yeah.
But I was kind of surprised by, how much of a role like nonverbal communication plays in that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, before we even say a word,
Mm-hmm.
people are already sizing us up.
Totally. Like Lowndes calls that the holograph, like that immediate impression.
Oh, the hologram.
Yeah, and she says that like 80% of that judgment
Wow.
is based on body language, not even the words we say.
Yeah, so that's a little intimidating
Right.
when you think about it. Like, we're being judged before we even open our mouths.
Yeah, so we got to make sure that body language is on point.
Right. From the get-go.
Totally. And Lowndes has some really cool techniques for that. Like one that I found really helpful is this thing called hang by your teeth.
Hang by your teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that involve?
So it's not literally hanging by your teeth,
Oh, good.
but it's more about visualizing it.
Yeah.
So like imagine you're walking through a doorway and there's this invisible bit hanging there
Okay.
and you got to bite down on it as you walk through. So it
Fine.
forces you to like lift your head, straighten your spine, and you instantly look more confident.
I like that. And it's such a vivid image. Like, I can actually feel myself, like, standing up straighter just thinking about it.
It's like a little trick for your brain,
Yeah.
Good posture equals confidence.
It makes you wonder, like, what other little things we could be doing
Right.
that, would change how people perceive us.
Totally. Like even something as simple as a smile.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say smiles are huge.
Yeah, but even with smiling, Lowndes has a very specific technique called the flooding smile.
Okay, I feel like I've been doing it wrong my whole life.
It's not about like plastering on a fake grin the second you see someone. It's
Yeah.
more about the timing. So like you take a beat when you meet someone, you acknowledge them with your eyes, and then you let this genuine smile kind of wash over your face.
So it's like this smile is a response to the person,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like it's blooming just for them.
not just like a default setting.
Right, exactly. And when you combine that with good eye contact, you're really sending a strong message.
Yeah, eye contact is huge too.
Oh, yeah. Lowndes calls it sticky eyes.
Sticky eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm intrigued but a little scared to ask.
It's not as weird as it sounds, I promise.
Okay, good.
So basically, you imagine your eyes are like glued to the other person with warm taffy,
Okay.
making it hard to look away. And when you do break contact, you do it slowly, like the taffy is stretching and then finally snapping.
So it's like that extra beat of eye contact that shows you're really engaged.
Right. It shows you're present, you're interested,
Mm.
and it creates a connection.
Now, what about if you're a little shy about eye contact?
Lowndes says you can soften your gaze a bit. You can focus on one eye. Or like the bridge of their nose if looking directly is too intense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The key is to find a balance you're comfortable with, but still convey that interest.
Right. Okay, now I got to ask about this epoxy eyes technique.
Oh, yeah, that one's interesting.
That sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, this is more for like romantic situations.
Gotcha.
So you maintain eye contact with the person you're interested in, even when someone else is talking.
Wow, so it's like sending this silent message.
Right.
You're more interested in them than anything else going on.
Yeah, it's about creating intrigue. But definitely got to read the room with this one.
For sure. Could easily come across as creepy if it's not reciprocated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got to be careful with that one.
Okay, so we've got posture, smiling eye contact. What other nonverbals can we use?
Well, Lowndes talks about this thing called the big baby pivot.
The big baby pivot. I'm picturing babies doing ballet.
No, it's not about dancing. It's about how babies turn their whole bodies to greet someone.
Oh.
So you fully face the person you're meeting. You give them your undivided attention.
Because it's like a full body signal.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying, this person is important enough for me to turn towards them completely.
And that ties in with the hello old friend visualization.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you imagine each person you meet is an old friend.
Right. It helps you project that warmth and familiarity.
Now, is there any like scientific basis for that? Or is it just a mental trick?
Well, when you imagine that feeling of seeing an old friend,
Yeah.
your body actually responds. Your shoulders relax, your eyes soften, you smile more genuinely.
So you're basically hacking your nervous system.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
You're tricking your body into being more approachable.
That's fascinating. Okay, so we've talked about projecting warmth and confidence,
Mm-hmm.
but what about coming across as intelligent and credible?
Right. Well, one of Lowndes' biggest tips is limit the fidget.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like all those little movements we do when we're nervous.
Like touching your face, playing with your hair.
Exactly. Those things can really undermine your message.
They make you seem less confident in what you're saying.
Right. And people pick up on that subconsciously.
Makes me think of that Nixon-Kennedy debate,
Oh, yeah.
where Nixon was all sweaty and fidgety on camera,
And Kennedy was cool and collected.
and it totally affected how people perceived them.
Totally. So we got to be mindful of those little movements.
Yeah, like we're constantly sending out signals, even when we're not saying a word.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of my favorite techniques from the book, Hans' horse sense.
Okay, Hans' horse sense. Now I'm really curious.
So there was this horse named Clever Hans.
A horse.
A horse. Yeah. And people thought he could count.
No way.
Yeah. Like they'd ask him math problems and he'd tap his hoof the right number of times. But it turned out he wasn't actually doing math.
Oh.
He was responding to subtle cues from his audience.
So he was reading their body language.
Exactly. Like they'd tense up as he got closer to the right answer. And he'd pick up on that.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
So Lowndes uses this story to illustrate the importance of nonverbal intelligence.
So Hans' horse sense is about being aware of the signals other people are sending.
Yeah, being a word detective in your conversations.
That's such a cool way to put it. Like we're all detectives trying to decipher each other's secret language.
Exactly. And the more attuned we are to those signals,
Yeah.
the better we can connect with people.
Well, I feel like I've already learned so much about nonverbal communication,
Me too.
but now I'm curious about the actual talking part. How do we break the ice and have those engaging conversations?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
I can't wait to dive into that.
Me neither.
All right, so we've tackled those nonverbal cues, those first impressions.
Yeah, that silent language.
But now I want to talk about the actual talking part.
Right.
Like, how do we start those conversations?
Yeah.
Especially, those dreaded small talk situations.
Oh, small talk. Yeah, it gets a bad rap.
It does.
But Lowndes makes a good point. She says it's like the bridge to deeper connection.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's that first step.
Yeah, like dipping your toes in the water before you jump in.
Exactly. So we got to make it count.
So how do we do that? How do we make small talk not so awkward?
Well, one technique is make a mood match.
Make a mood match. What's that?
So it's about tuning into the other person's energy
Oh, okay.
and mirroring it, at least at first. Like if they're really upbeat and chatty, you match that enthusiasm.
I see.
If they're more low-key, you kind of adopt a calmer demeanor.
So it's about finding that common ground.
Right, like non-verbally saying, hey, we're on the same wavelength.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that connection,
Even those basic questions
Yeah.
can lead to something interesting.
which brings us to prosaic with passion.
Ah, yes.
Sounds kind of like an oxymoron,
It does, right?
but what does it mean?
So it's about taking those everyday questions like, where are you from or what do you do?
Right.
And asking them with genuine curiosity and enthusiasm.
Oh, so it's not just about the words themselves.
No, it's about the delivery.
Like you actually care about the answer.
Yeah, exactly. You make the other person feel like what they have to say is important.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about parties,
Oh,
because those can be tough. Like you're in a room full of strangers.
I know what you mean.
What do you do?
Well, Lowndes has this technique called who's it.
Who's it? Okay, what's that one?
So it's about enlisting the help of the host or
Wow.
someone who knows the other guests to make introductions and give you some conversation starters.
So like a social wingman.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off you to come up with something brilliant on the spot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
And what if you don't have a who's it helper?
Well, then Lowndes suggests eavesdrop in.
Eavesdrop in. Okay, now that sounds a little sneaky.
It's not about like full-on spying.
Okay,
It's more about positioning yourself near a group you'd like to join
I see.
and listening for an opening in the conversation.
So like when you hear something you can relate to.
Right. And then you can gracefully insert yourself.
So it's about finding that natural entry point.
Exactly. But gotta be smooth about it. You don't want to barge in and interrupt.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've started the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
How do we keep it going?
Well, one tip is never the naked city.
Never the naked city. Okay, I like the sound of that.
So when someone asks where you're from, don't just give a one-word answer.
Oh, right.
Give them something more, like a fun fact or a little anecdote.
So instead of just Chicago, I could say Chicago where the pizza is legendary.
Exactly. Give them something to work with.
A conversational hook.
Right. And that same principle applies to your job, too. Never the naked job.
Ah, yeah. So instead of just saying, I'm an accountant.
You could say, I'm an accountant and I help people make their dreams come true.
Oh, I like that. It's way more interesting.
Right, it tells a story,
Yeah.
and when you're introducing people, Lowndes says never the naked introduction.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here.
Right, so instead of just saying names,
Yeah.
you give them a little something to talk about, like a shared interest or funny observation.
It's like you're giving them a conversational jumpstart.
Exactly. Now let's say the conversation is flowing, but you want to take it to a deeper level.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, Lowndes says, be a word detective.
Be a word detective. Now we're talking.
So you listen closely for clues about what really engages the other person.
I see.
What are they passionate about?
Yeah.
What words do they keep using?
So you're like analyzing their language.
Right. And then you can subtly steer the conversation towards those topics.
So they can really shine.
Exactly. Lowndes calls that the swiveling spotlight.
The swiveling spotlight. I like that.
It's about making the other person feel seen and heard.
And when you combine those two techniques,
It's magic.
it really is. Okay, but what about those moments when the conversation starts to fizzle out?
Well, Lowndes suggests parroting.
Parroting.
Yeah.
Like a bird.
Not quite.
Right.
It's about repeating key phrases or ideas back to the other person,
Oh, I see.
but in a way that shows you're listening and understanding.
So it's not just mimicking.
No, it's about showing that you're present and engaged.
It's like saying, I hear you.
Exactly. And if you really want to make someone feel special, you can use the encore technique.
Encore. Okay, I like that.
So it's about encouraging someone to retell a story they've shared, maybe to a new audience or in a different context.
So it's like giving them a platform to share something they're passionate about.
Exactly. And it shows that you really valued their story.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about starting conversations, keeping them going. But now I'm curious about how we can elevate our speaking style.
Yeah, like how do we go from casual chit-chat to speaking like a VIP?
Exactly. That's what I want to know.
Well, Lance has some great advice for that.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from nonverbal cues to
Yeah.
small talk.
Yeah, it's like a whole communication toolbox.
It is. And I'm loving all these techniques.
So do you.
But now I'm curious about, how do we take our speaking style to the next level?
Yeah, like how do we project that confidence and authority?
Exactly. Like, how do we sound like, a CEO or a diplomat?
Well, Lowndes talks about that. She calls it speaking like a VIP.
Ooh, I like that. Speaking like a VIP.
Yeah, and one of her key tips is to craft what she calls a nutshell resume.
A nutshell resume. So like a super condensed version of our resume.
It's not about listing everything you've done.
Right.
It's more about highlighting the core value you bring.
I see.
Like instead of just saying your job title,
Yeah.
you focus on the benefits you provide, the problems you solve.
So it's more about the impact you have.
Exactly. Like let's say you're a graphic designer.
Okay.
Instead of saying I design websites,
Right.
you could say I help businesses create a visual identity that connects with their customers.
Oh, that's so much better.
Right. It's about speaking the language of value.
And it instantly makes you sound more impressive.
Totally.
Yeah.
And speaking of language, Lowndes also recommends building a personal thesaurus.
A personal thesaurus.
Yeah, so it's about expanding your vocabulary
Yeah.
and replacing those overused words with more powerful synonyms.
Oh, I like that. Like finding those little verbal gems.
Exactly. And you can do that by paying attention to how articulate speakers phrase things.
Oh, yeah, like taking notes from the pros.
Right, and then consciously trying to incorporate those words into your own conversations.
So it's about developing an ear for language.
Exactly.
Now, I know we've all been guilty of this at some point. The quick me too.
Yes, the conversation killer.
It is like someone sharing something they're excited about.
Yeah.
And we just jump in with our own story.
And steal their thunder.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lowndes says we need to resist that urge.
So how do we do that?
Let the other person have their moment.
Okay.
And then you can casually reveal your connection later.
So it's like a delayed me too.
Exactly. It creates a little bit of intrigue.
And it shows that you're actually listening.
Right. Not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Now what about smiles?
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
We have, but Lowndes takes it a step further with the exclusive smile.
Okay, what's that?
It's about tailoring your smiles to each individual,
Oh, I like that.
like making them feel like they've received something special.
So not just a generic smile for everyone.
Right. It's about creating a unique connection.
That's beautiful. Okay, now I'm a little scared to hear this one. But what about cliches?
Oh, yeah. Lowndes is not a fan of cliches.
I gotta admit, I use them sometimes.
We all do.
But why are they so bad?
They make you sound unoriginal, like you're not even thinking.
Oh.
So Lowndes encourages us to use Jaw Smith's jaw,
Use jaw, Smith's jaw.
Yeah, it's about using more creative language, like
Yeah.
borrowing techniques from comedians or motivational speakers.
So it's about being more mindful of our word choices.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about those tricky situations, like delivering bad news.
Ugh. Yeah, those are never fun.
They're not. But Lowndes has a technique for that too. Call a spade a spade.
Which basically means be direct. Yeah, don't beat around the bush.
Especially with sensitive topics.
Right, it shows that you're confident and honest.
Now, when it comes to actually delivering the bad news, Lowndes says it's the receiver's maul.
Meaning,
You've got to tailor your delivery to the other person.
right, like how they're likely to react.
So you might be more gentle with someone who's sensitive.
Exactly. Or maybe use a little humor to lighten the mood.
It's all about empathy.
Exactly.
Now, what about those questions you just don't want to answer?
Oh, yeah, those can be tough.
They can. Like, they're too personal. Or you just don't feel comfortable sharing.
Well, Lance has a technique for that, too. The bouncer.
Bouncer.
Yeah.
Like at a nightclub?
Kinda. So it's about politely but firmly deflecting those questions.
Right.
Like redirecting the conversation or changing the subject.
So you're protecting your boundaries.
Exactly.
All right, so we've talked about nonverbal cues, small talk projecting confidence. But what about those situations where we're surrounded by people with different interests?
Yeah, like how do we become an insider in any crowd?
Exactly.
Well, Lance recommends scramble therapy.
Scramble therapy. Okay, I like that.
So it's about stepping outside your comfort zone
Oh, okay.
and trying new things, exposing yourself to different ideas and experiences.
So you're broadening your horizons.
Exactly. And that gives you more to talk about.
It's like you're building a mental library of conversation topics.
Right, and the more diverse your library is, the
Yeah.
more easily you'll connect with people from all walks of life.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's amazing how many little things we can do.
To improve our communication skills.
Right, and it all starts with awareness.
Yeah, like paying attention to our body language
Our word choices.
and how we're making other people feel.
Exactly. It's a lifelong journey.
It is, but it's so worth it because communication is at the heart of everything we do.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's it for this deep dive on communication skills.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.